introduce Mr. McInnis. These are not football terms and these are not sports terms, and I will mess up some abbreviation or some fancy word in here, so I'm sorry. Okay, I'm introducing Kyle McInnis today. Kyle practices law with Cook Yancey in the areas of taxation, corporate partnership, business, estate planning, and succession law, with an emphasis on entity formations, corporate acquisitions, and dispositions, and closely held businesses, and that's why I'm reading it. He is a tax law specialist and an estate planning specialist and administration specialist certified under the Louisiana Board of Legal Specialization. He received his BBA in accounting from the University of Georgia, go Bulldogs. I say that not with zeal. In 1999, he graduated from there, and he earned his Juris Doctorate from Washington and Lee in 2002 and received his LLM in taxation from New York University School of Law in 2003. He serves on the board of directors of various local civic organizations, including the Norwella Council, Executive Board for the Boy Scouts of America, the Independence Bowl Foundation, and also Cyport Discovery Center. He is a graduate of the Council for Better Louisiana's Leadership Louisiana program and was selected as a member of the Shreveport Chamber's 40 Under 40 in 2008. And he was named to the Best Lawyers in America from 2011 to 2012 for Trust and Estates and Tax Law, and has been named the Best Lawyers 213 Shreveport for Trust and Estates Lawyer of the Year. He's listed by Super Lawyers as the Louisiana Rising Star in 2012. And he's currently our first vice chairman for the Independence Bowl Foundation, which means he'll be the chairman in 2015. And as a mother and a wife, most importantly, he is married to the former Molly Whalen, and they have 3 lovely kids, which I'm sure his mother will attest to. He's got a twin 2-year-olds, Gardner and Maisie, and he has a 6-year-old cute little girl named Lloyd. Kyle McInnis.
I don't know if we have much time for this speech after all that. Thank you for that generous introduction. Rotarians, Independence Bowl staff, visitors, mom. Thank you for coming out today on a cold and blustery morning. I do want to say, just echoing on Daryl's chronological curiosity, I think this year is the first year that we haven't had 2 of the same number in the year since 1987. It's all on Facebook, so I thought I would share. That means, like, 1990 had 2 9s, 1988 had 2 8s. So this is the first year that we've had 4 different numbers in our year since 87. Okay. You're going to learn some interesting stuff. Some of these, I gave this speech last year. I hope you'll forgive if I ever repeat jokes or anything like that. I'm sorry, some of you maybe weren't here for my last one. But anyway, I'm here to speak to you about the AdvoCare V100 Bowl, formerly the Independence Bowl. I like to start at the beginning and tell you that this is a football game between 2 colleges. I have to start at the beginning because I have a brother-in-law who's a musical theater major, and some people might not know that. So, then I'm going to probably say the Independence Bowl and the AdvoCare V100 Bowl, but forgive me, this year's the AdvoCare V100 Bowl. I hope that all of you have attended a game, not only know about the bowl, but have actually gone through the turnstiles. The bowl was founded in 1976. I don't make anybody feel old, but that was the year I was born. So it's been around a long time. We're the 11th oldest bowl game, and I think that's something to be really proud of. There's the Rose Bowl and all these great grand traditions. We're 11th, so I think that's something to be said for Shreveport. We've had some great teams and great players come through and play in Shreveport. As you can see in the slide, we have a lot of first-round draft picks for the NFL, Hall of Famers, both in the pros and college. One person that I was looking through Wikipedia on the Independence Bowl earlier this week, and I noted that Gary Kubiak, the Houston Texans coach who collapsed and had a stroke as he was leaving the field for the Texans, He was our MVP, our offensive MVP in 1981 with the Aggies. I also want to say, and I know there's probably some Tiger fans in here, I just want to note that LSU is undefeated in the Independence Bowl. All right? Nick Saban is 1-1, and he has a loss to LSU in the Independence Bowl. I'm just saying, you might want to move the game up here. The stats are sort of in your favor when we're up here. But you know, the Independence Bowl is more than just a football game. There's a lot of community involvement with the bowl and the staff do throughout the year. I was all excited because this one is a new one that they gave me this year, and it has a laser. See there? So I said that might help with hecklers. You might want to stay down there. But every summer we have a football youth clinic, which is a lot of fun. I volunteered to go out there and help with it. It's at the stadium, and we get coaches from all sorts of college programs around here: LSU, Grambling, Prairie View, a lot of college coaches from all around, and we come up, and Missy, with this year we had how many kids? 350 kids, and a lot of parents sitting up in the stands watching them. It's a lot of fun, and this year its keynote address was given by Todd Berry, who is the coach at ULM, and is a great guy. Came over and gave our keynote address to all the kids. In addition, we're doing charity. Last year we did a charitable donation to the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great charity for wounded veterans. This year we're also going to do some charitable donations for local groups as well. And I think Thursday, as chairman of the SIPE board, I have a meeting with the Independence Bowl to try to get a charitable donation from the Independence Bowl. So I'll have to be switching hats during the meeting. We have an art contest with local school children. I think the winners get tickets to the game. And Malloy, my 6-year-old, I think she was telling me about it the other night and saying, Dad, if I draw a pretty enough picture, they're going to give me tickets to the football game. I said, I think you're going to be okay if you don't. Just because I have tickets, not that she would want the tickets. And then Daryl's group, Willis Knighton, we have a community service scholarship that's presented every year at our chairman's VIP party. I think kids are getting smarter as we go because they reel off all these credentials of people that win these scholarships, and they're exceedingly impressive. New slide. Being that Barksdale is just right over the river, we have a lot of military involvement. The Omar Bradley Spirit of Independence Award is given every year. I'm not going to spoil it if I say who. I can't say. But it's can I say it's a group of people? It's a group of people who are very impressive and are very recognizable, and it was a real coup for us to get them. So buy your tickets, come and see who wins the Omar Bradley Spirit of Independence Award. It's really neat and interesting this year, so watch for that. We also have an initiative to give tickets to our armed forces. That's including our airmen out at Barksdale. And then this year we have a new event that's going to be out at Barksdale. Advocare, our title sponsor, also has a NASCAR, and so they're going to bring the NASCAR in, and we're going to have the teams compete in a pit crew challenge, which ought to be entertaining. And then our pep rally is also out at the base. Another thing that we do every year is we have a sort of countdown, kickoff type luncheon. It's here at the convention center. I hope any of you attended it. We always have great speakers. In our first year we had Terry Bradshaw. Our second year we had Bobby Bowden. In our third year, we had Lou Holtz, and then this year was Jason Witten of the Cowboys. Sometimes it's real funny, like when Terry Bradshaw and Bobby Bowden were there. Other times it's funny and sort of inspiring. Lou Holtz was really great, and Jason Witten was really great too. And he's a Tennessee Vol, and I think I remember him beating my beloved Bulldogs many times. So for me to say that he was, did a great job pains me a little bit, but he did do a great job. This year we're also having Kevin Mawai come in. Kevin was a center for LSU. Many of you know him from there. He also had a very long pro career and is I think a really great speaker. Went to the SEC championship game last year, and he was a speaker at the Friday night before the game where they honored a legend from each school, and he was picked to speak on behalf of all the people that were being honored there. So Kevin's a great speaker, and we look forward to that presentation. Then our Bowl Week events, the big game show is always fun. That's when we welcome our teams in, and they get to compete in all sorts of things, mostly trivia and game show type activities. It's very entertaining, and the production values are really nice too. We have an FCA breakfast and the pep rally and the fan fest the day of the game at the Hirsch. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sort of where we are and what our conference agreements are now and what they're going to be going forward. I would assume most of you are football fans. And so you're going to have a little passing interest in this or have heard something about what is going to happen to college football in the future. These are the current bowl tie-ins, okay? And so you can see the type of dollars that are attached to the different type of bowls and the different tie-ins. So your BCS bowls like Sugar, Orange, Fiesta, Rose, they're at the top and they're paying out $24 million. The secondary bowls, it used to be that the Independence Bowl, just by virtue of being a bowl, was pretty high in the pecking order. And our bowl payout was pretty handsome back then. Our bowl payout hasn't changed a whole lot. We've gone down a little bit. But you can see what has happened is much larger bowls in much larger cities with very nice stadiums have surpassed us. And so now to have the bowl pick, the SEC pick that we enjoyed, I guess that ended in 2009. Our pick was number 6, I believe, in the SEC. 8. So that would cost us $1.2 million. Before that, weren't we 6? And that would cost us $2.7 million. The ACC side the numbers are a little smaller, but still, the better picks are going to cost us more money. I get this asked of me all the time. Why can't we get LSU or Arkansas or who? Well, not this year, but why can't we get these better SEC teams? And I tell those people, we can. All we need is $1 million. Just if you got it, we'll take a check. So it's not that the bowl and the community are not out there trying to get our payout higher and get better teams in there. We are trying. It's difficult to get those payouts up to where I think some people want them to be. Those higher picks cost a lot of money. And that's both sides, and that's just the way that the bowls have gone in recent years. It's more expensive for better picks, and you have greater competition. We just announced 3 new bowls, one of which is in the Bahamas. So if you're a fan of that team, save up. I've even heard that they're going to try to do a bowl in Dubai. So Missy tells me that the Dubai Bowl got nixed, and instead we got a bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. So
Pretty much the same thing. The Independence Bowl, though, hang on a second. We have negotiated our new conference agreements with the SEC and the ACC. We're staying with those conferences. So we're pretty much staying where we are in the ACC, and from at least this slide's perspective, we are staying where we've been with the SEC. The trouble is the bowls and the games at the top are getting bigger. Okay, so, and I mean bigger in number. So instead of 5 BCS level games this year, there's going to be 4 BCS games and then 3 playoff games. Okay, so that's
There's 6 that go into the playoff rotation, and then you add a championship game.
right. So our BCS bowls are increasing about 2. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because you got the playoffs.
Right. So our BCS bowls are increasing from 5 to 7, essentially, because you're going to have 2 playoff games and a championship game, in addition to the BCS bowls that you have now. Okay. So the Chick-fil-A and the Cotton Bowl have moved up into the BCS mix. Okay. So instead of the 5 you have now, you have 7. That means there's 14 BCS teams as opposed to 10 now, which means that at the top, everybody moves up. The bottom, it stays where they are. So that's could be injurious to our selections, and that's not just ours. That's everybody who's not a BCS bowl is going to get essentially moved down because of that. And you could have a playoff where you got 3 SEC teams in it. I know we like to beat ourselves and say that, but and that wouldn't be good for, I think, really all the SEC bowl tie-ins, but you could conceivably have that happen. So, like I said, BCS bowls are expanding. That means there's more dollars out there for college teams, but it also means that the normal bowls that have been here a long time are sort of getting squeezed out as far as teams go in their affiliated conferences by that increase at the top. Okay. So that's next year. We do 6-year cycles, so we think that that's going to stay within the next 6 years. But as you've seen the turbulence in college football over the past 4 or 5 years, I don't think anything is set in stone. And it's really interesting to see where we're going with college football, because it seems like you have a lot of schools that are very powerful, have a lot of money. There's so much money that they don't know what to do with it all. And then in the same division, competing against those schools are schools that are very small, who lose money, and who need to go play the big boys to get a check to keep their program alive. I mean, that's not just schools like Middle Tennessee or Appalachian State is about to be a 1A school, but Maryland, I think Maryland went to the Big Ten primarily because they were so in debt, they had to have a new conference to give them some more money. So it's not just the little schools that you take your family down so that you can see LSU beat 50-0. It's schools that are in larger conferences too. So I don't know where we're headed, but the bowl has tried to ensure that it has some stability moving forward. As I said, we have new conference tie-ins with the SEC and ACC, our current partners, through 2019. ESPN is going to be carrying our game either on ESPN or ESPN2 until 2019. And we have our licensing company agreements through 2019 as well. So we have long-term agreements. So we are stable until 2019, at least with regards to all our outside partners. All right, so I think last year, if some of y'all were here, forgive the repetition, but I'll just tell you sort of how I got involved with Independence Bowl. I moved back here in 2003. Independence Bowl had just lost their title sponsor, and I thought, you know, I've always enjoyed going to this game. My dad took me when I was a kid. My grandfather took me when I was a kid. It's sort of a Shreveport institution. I want to see what I can do to just help the Independence Bowl stay here and stay alive. And so the Independence Bowl Foundation, it was $100 to join. I thought, man, $100, I can do that. That's, you know, that'll be my help to the Independence Bowl. Paid my $100, and they then sent around this questionnaire saying, do you want to be on a committee, you know, to help with labor as opposed to dollars? And I said, I sure would. I volunteered for the media relations group, and that was basically, you go into a hospitality room for the reporters, and you just sort of hang out with them. And I thought, that'd be good, I'll do that. And that year, I think South Carolina was in it, and being a Georgia grad, and say borderline obsessive Georgia fan, I had read the South Carolina beat writers before, and so I knew who they were when they came in. And one of the guys was Ron Morris of the state newspaper in Columbia, who is the guy that, if you've heard about Steve Spurrier, Steve shut down a press conference one time because he wanted Ron to leave the room. He was so upset with it. So it was Ron Morris, their beat writer, I think one of their photographers, and then a reporter from the Atlanta paper, Braves fan too. So she had been the Braves beat writers, knew her, and they said, McInnis, where's a good place to go eat? And I told them, no, you know, just this place down the road. And they said, well, will you drive and take us and eat dinner with us? I said, sure, I'd love to. I think really from then on, I was sort of hooked, because those guys just sat around and told stories all night, which was just a lot of fun as a sports fan to hear them. And the Independence Bowl sort of pushed me along to other committees, and I think in any nonprofit organization, if you show that you care and do a good job, they move you up pretty quick. So here I find myself as the first vice chairman and the 2015 chairman. So the bowl has been far kinder to me than I have been to it with my $100 checks. You know, just the exposure that you get not only to the teams that come in, which is interesting, but also people in the community that I would never have met otherwise if I didn't take part in the activities of the Independence Bowl. And the foundation has parties throughout the year, and you get a parking pass for the game, which is worth your $100, I would say. So one thing I'd say is consider joining the Independence Bowl Foundation. It really is a lot of fun. You know, like I said, you meet different people, you get asked to do stuff. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. It's really up to you as to how involved you want to get. The other thing you can help us with is, hey, buy a ticket. You know, that's really sort of what we're supposed to be in the business of doing, is providing a good game so that you can feel like you want to get a ticket and take your wife or your husband or your grandkids or whoever and load them up and take them to the game. I was going to say bundle them up and take them to the game, but hopefully our weather will be a little warmer than it has been the past couple of years. But it's a lot of fun, and even if it's cold and snowing, it's still fun to go to the game. And then if you want to do something a little bit more, there's corporate sponsorships. They start at $1,000. Our staff will put together a package to get your company whatever type of exposure you want to, you feel like your company needs, and also give you some great access to some of our events that aren't generally open to the general public. So thank you all for listening to me. I hope you consider becoming a little bit more involved in the Independence Bowl, and I am open to questions if there are any. Yes, sir.
Just a comment, on your one slide that had all the famous All-Americans you made for the pros, you left off that you had a two-time Super Bowl MVP player.
Well, his picture was in there.
Oh, you're right, it was.
Eli, are we ganging up on all this? Patrick?
Now, what is the, you said Independence Bowl, and everybody in here will always think of it as the Independence Bowl, is now the Advocare B100 Bowl, not the Independence Bowl, correct?
It is for this year.
And why are we losing the Independence Bowl? That's what it's always been, that's what everybody thinks about Shreveport when they hear the Independence Bowl.
I understand, and I think as probably you can hear from my speech,
Just sponsorship.
I still I still kind of refer to it as that.
Right.
Our sponsor wanted that because their view was, if it's called the Independence Bowl, even if it's the Advocare V100 Independence Bowl, they're not getting the value that they want because the ESPN announcers can say the Independence Bowl as opposed to the Advocare V100 Independence Bowl. And so one of their stipulations for this year's sponsorship was we want you to change the name to just the Advocare V100 Bowl. And the board decided to go ahead and do
So
that.
that could be a temporary thing, so if we lost the sponsorship and gained another one, we
Yes.
still could go back to the Independence Bowl.
That's right. Yeah, it's the Independence Bowl January 1st. In fact, I filed a trademark application, so we're protected, and we're depending on what happens with our sponsorship opportunities, I would expect that we would go back to the hopefully Apple Independence Bowl. We'll see. A lot of irons in the fire.
I would just hate for the Independence Bowl to end up in some other city.
I agree with you, and I don't think that's going to happen. But this is a trend that is all over the country. You used to have the Peach Bowl, then you had the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, now you got the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Unfortunately, there's some bowls that don't even have anything in them. They just start out as the BDVA Compass Bowl or the R&L Beefo Grady's Bowl. I mean, it is. So I think that the term Independence Bowl is one that I value, and you see the bigger bowls that sort of have all the traditional bowls have kept their name. I think the Rose Bowl has a very attenuated. They're the Rose Bowl presented by. So that's just a trend that I think is going to continue, and that's because of money. Yes, sir.
Kyle, you kind of alluded to it in your speech, but in your honest, I guess, just opinion, I know it's just a ballpark. What level of payout do you think we need to really get to maintain a long-term sustainability for kids, given all the competition that's coming into play?
Well, I think sustainability is probably different from,
Well, to be competitive for teams, I guess.
yeah, to be competitive. I mean, if you want to bring in LSU and A&M, you're going to need at least another $1 million playing both sides.
So right now we're at $1 million, you think?
Our total payout is 2.4.
So we need to get the $4 million range, you think? To be
Yeah, that would be split, between the two teams, but yeah, roughly. Sir.
I'm curious, how was one going more to the ACC and one to the SEC?
Because we're the 7th pick in the ACC and the 10th pick in the SEC.
And they have to win 6 games to.
Got to win 6 games. Yeah. And with all apologies to the Ole Miss people. I know Carol well. Sometimes root for the Rebels and let her know that. But I need Mississippi State to get eligible. So with Hail State, I'm sorry. Hey, look. Last year, let's see, I have an Aggie brother, okay? And so last year, it was the beginning of the A&M Alabama game, which, if y'all remember that game from last year, A&M just sort of raced out and just jumped on Alabama in the first half. And my brother was just texting me, oh, look at this, Johnny Football is, I said, man, I'm not watching your game because I'm watching the end of the Mizzou-Tennessee game because I need Mizzou to win so that they can keep their eligibility hopes alive. And he just was, dumbfounded by that. I said, well,
you know, probably the only people watching this game over A&M in Alabama is Mizzou fans, Tennessee fans, compulsive gamblers, and bowl executives. But I was sweating out. In fact, this weekend I really I needed Florida to beat Vandy, and as a Bulldog, it's hard to cheer for the Gators. And, I had to tell my little daughter, who I've told her that you can go anywhere you want, but you can't go to Florida. She said, Daddy, why are we rooting for the Gators? I had to explain to her, well, the football game sort of needs the Gators to get eligible, and she was very confused. And then after Florida lost, I had to cheer for Mississippi State against the Aggies, who is somebody we normally cheer for, so it was a confusing day. Anybody else?
Are you hearing any comments from Louisiana Tech trying to get this bowl this year?
Are they? I don't think they'll be lost.
They went to out of the last three they are.
I don't think they'll be lost. No, I'm sorry. I don't.
At this time of year, we hear from a lot of different schools. The ones that are going to be extra qualified for the conferences, they're all making contact with bowls and they may have them inside this year.
We'd love to have Tech. We won them last year, so we'd love to have Tech. Anybody else? Thank you for your attention.